On this episode of the Range Minded Podcast, I kind of go on a little bit of a rant. Luckily for you, it's just a short episode. Kind of get you caught up on why I have such a huge spread between the last show and this show, and maybe a few more things. Anyways, take a listen, guys. Hope you enjoy. Good day, good evening, or whatever time of day it may be. Sorry, I had to clear my throat right there. Welcome back to the show. Hey, this is Range Minded Podcast. Again, this is just going to be a quick solo show, just trying to get you caught up with the world of range minded. Seems like every time world gets busy, we get lazy. Uh, or maybe we just get busy too. I don't know. Anyways, what's up? My name is Steve Zimmerman. Again, this is just going to be a short show. I'm not going to have Nick on tonight either. Just because this was kind of an impromptu show. Man, I got to stop doing that. Sorry, I notice I do that a lot, so I'll try not to snap my tongue ever again. So, anyway, as I said, this is Range Minded Podcast. I was going to get you caught up on what's going down with us. So, um, as some as you may or may not know, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Day Saints, and as our youth get to be a certain age, if they choose to, they can go on a mission, which means they go out and proselyte. So, my son Brigham, if you remember, he was on a show quite a while ago. Uh, he decided he wanted to go on a mission. So recently, we sent him on his way. So we're excited about that. So there's one big change. Also, as you may or may not know, I'm a carpenter by professional trade, and for some reason, people are moving to Idaho in droves, and many of them want to build ridiculously expensive homes that require a lot of attention. And so, in order to get these houses ready for somebody to move in, I've noticed that I've had to dedicate a little bit extra time to keep some of these folks happy. So there's the two reasons why why I've been so absent. So I hope you enjoyed the last show with Cody. Cody is awesome with Red Right Hand. And if you haven't had a chance to check out those uppers that we talked about, follow one on Instagram, get up there on YouTube, or well, not YouTube, sorry, Facebook, and see the stuff he's going. I don't know. I haven't talked to him lately to see if they are available or how far out until they are available. But they look like they are a ton of fun. Anyway, so there's a couple things besides that I wanted to talk about. Got just also getting you caught up on my poor decision making skills. Um, Sorry, my computer's acting up here. You ever notice that sometimes your computer just freaks out for no reason, and it's telling you that you need to install this or iTunes that or whatever. It's kind of annoying. So yeah, I have to keep skipping out on this stuff. It's really, really annoying. Sorry. Decision making. That's right. So a while ago, I saw this video on YouTube, and I promise this has a point. I promise this isn't just me talking for a while, which it really will be, but it does have a point at the end of the story. I promise. So a while ago on YouTube, I was cruising around and I saw this thing on pallet auctions. And maybe you already know where this is going. So I was really intrigued. Uh, Screwing around, I log on to this pallet auction website, which is in Salt Lake. And maybe you guys know the video I'm talking about too. I'm not gonna really reference where I watched it, but anyway, um, it was really cool. They were walking through this auction house. These pallet auctions are what they are is stuff that's been lost in shipping or whatever. Somehow ends up at this auction house, and they auction off these pallets. And you have no idea what's in these pallets, save what you can see on the top of the heap of each box, basically. So I'm cruising through this auction site, and maybe you've seen it or not. I have a 1958 Dodge pickup that is waiting to be worked on and restored to make a fun tootling around truck. So as I'm going through these pallets, each lot on this pallet auction website, I see this one box, and I can tell by the look and shape, and you can just barely read this logo on the side. It was a Holly EFI system, the Sniper. If you guys understand car parts, yeah, it's pretty cool little deal. Bolts onto uh, your motor. You know. Anyway, electronic fuel injection. You get the point. The part's about $1,500. So I'm thinking to myself, hey, I got this old Dodge pickup. I'm going to be working on. Uh, that EFI is sweet. I dig the setup on it. Maybe this will be an easy way for me to get a cool part um, for my future build, right? In air quotes. So I'm digging I'm digging through this thing. I'm looking through the pictures as much as I can see the verbal description on that particular lot. There's two different pallets on that particular lot. I could kind of make out things here and there, and just doing some quick mental math, I'm like, okay, the EFI is about $1,500 new, and I can't remember what else was on that pallet. There's a few things, and it added up. It's like, yeah, that's probably maybe $3,000 worth of stuff. If I can get it for a good deal, it'd absolutely be worth it, especially if it's $1,500 or less. So I'm going through, and I decide to bid on it. So and like any auction, if you've been to the auction, nobody really starts bidding until closer to the end of the auction, and things get exciting. So I'm watching this bid, or this particular lot, and well, okay, backtrack a little bit. If I'm looking at it like, oh man, $1,500, I could probably maybe swing another pallet. So I'm swerving through some other lots, and I find this next pallet that had some cool stuff, has an electric scooter. Again, I start doing this mental math, and I'm realizing, hey, there's quite a bit of money in this pallet. So if I can get it for a couple $100, man, I could turn some quick coin. Of course, every time we try to do this stuff at any kind of auction, we start to justify our poor purchasing habits, right? Um, anyway, we get to the day of the auction. It's a soft close, so every time somebody bids, it adds 20 seconds to to that particular lot that's closing. Well, some jerk decided he wanted the EFI probably as much as I did, and so we get into this battle. And he probably was just running me up just because he could. Anyway, so that first lot with the EFI, and I think there was actually some cordless tools in there. It really was worth what I paid, honestly, even though I felt like I paid too much. So that I ended up spending about 2 grand on that first lot, which was two pallets, and then the second pallet that had the scooter, and I can't remember whatever else was on there. Uh, that was like 20 minutes later in the auction. So again, I'm bidding. Somebody decides they want to run it up a little bit. Oh, I got that second lot for it was a couple $100. Absolutely worth what that was worth. Anyway, so uh, I decide that you have to pick it up. You can't really have it delivered. It's not worth it to have it shipped. So I drove down to Salt Lake, and there's a whole nother story about that adventure that I'll share at a different time. But it was so exciting, right? You feel like you have some sort of success. You've made an investment um, on this purchase that you have no idea what's inside the boxes. I guess as you get there, and it was kind of fun. Open up, it's kind of like Christmas. You open up, you have no idea what's in each one of these boxes, and there were some cool surprises. Nonetheless, I spent roughly 3 grand really for a $1,500 part in reality. So, what's the point of this story? First of all, it is a ton of fun to spend your money on a pallet auction until your wife finds out, and then the joy kind of leaves you. Uh, Second, and this is what I really wanted to get to, and this is the serious part: is what are we spending our money on, right? As I guess air quote lions, right? We don't want to be the sheep in the herd. We want to be the lions and the protectors, or the sheepdogs, which is turned out to be a cliche of a comment. But as we are uh, making wise purchases to defend our family or neighbor or whatever, what are we purchasing? what are we spending our money on? Are we spending it on obscure ammunition? Because I mean, everybody wants a 6 millimeter arc instead of maybe buying a couple boxes of 9 millimeter, or more important, training, something like that. Are we learning about gardening? Are we learning about ham radios or whatever? You know what I mean? What are we really spending our money on? Or, unfortunately, now, I mean, most of us are trying to spend money on gas. Maybe, maybe those frivolous purchases need to be put on the wayside, and we need to be a little bit more deliberate in our spending. Okay, so that's what I want. I kind of wanted to talk to a little bit tonight, and then we'll go. This show's probably only going to be about 30 minutes long, so it's not going to be a very crazy show. um, and then we can even talk maybe a little bit about bartering. Uh, Not that I'm an expert in bartering by any means, but it's just something to think about as the world gets a little more hectic. Okay. Uh, if you've gone to buy ammo lately, you've noticed that ammo is, at least in my neck of the woods, is getting a little bit easier to find. The prices are I don't think ever going to be like they were pre, or the Trump administration areas. Ammunition was plentiful and it was cheap, and we should have probably been buying more than we were shooting, me included, right? So I was thinking about this um, today. I heard a report that um, the economic hardships are affecting the average American home. I think it was $5,400, $5,200 a year more now than it was last year, which is a lot of money, uh, a lot. Today I filled up my pickup with diesel, and maybe we'll be looking back at my day. I paid $5 a gallon for diesel, but a year ago I was paying like $3 a gallon for diesel. So in the last few months, and you can blame it on whatever, Trump, or you can blame it on um, Joe or whatever. It is what it is right now. So we need to probably be restricting some of the money that we're spending out for the fun stuff, um, and maybe be a little bit more deliberate in what we're purchasing. A good friend of mine, his sister, she's an American citizen, but she married um, a guy down in Mexico. They live in Mexico. They live in a nice part of Mexico, um, and I think he's a doctor, something. They live in a nice part of Mexico, and he was relaying to me that uh, the president of Mexico recently made a speech about uh, well, it really is just hearsay and paraphrasing, but basically the gist of the speech was that there's not going to be enough food in the stores. You need to buy uh, stuff to garden. You need to be growing your own food. You need to be having chickens in your yard. You need to be self sufficient because it's going to be difficult. So, how does that affect us? Avocados are going to be harder to get, sure, whatever. We do get a lot of produce and other stuff from Mexico. I know Mexico really isn't the bastion of a free economy. They're used to having uh, hardships and stuff down there too. But we need to understand is what our neighbors, and this goes for in our own community. Sometimes whatever affects our neighbors will directly affect us. So what are we doing, me included, and all of you hopefully, have you made a plan of getting the most out of your money? We see that fuel's more expensive. I actually drive quite a bit for work, especially if I'm going to be teaching, or I have a class once in a while in Boise, sometimes up to twice a month. So I'm driving to Boise frequently. Um, I drive to Utah occasionally. I'm making a plan to go to Colorado for a class in September. Hopefully that works out. And we will be doing a show in Denver. It'll be awesome. Anyway, digress. So, what are we sacrificing? What are we willing to sacrifice? And how are we prioritizing our spending in a way that keeps us responsible, that helps us to still protect our families and our neighborhoods or whatever. And how far are we willing to go? And I don't have the answers. Like, maybe you're waiting for me to say, "Hey, Steve, tell us, oh wise Swami, what the best thing is to do." And honestly, I cannot answer that for each one of us because I only know what's good for my family. My wife and I talked about we do a family garden with my in-laws, but it might be time to do a garden here on our property as well, uh, to where vegetables are a little easier to get. Maybe get some chickens so the eggs are free, and every little bit counts. I was talking to my nephew today. He was talking about buying his first AR. He's pretty young, and he was excited about it. And I told him, as we all experience, if we have one AR, it's definitely not our last. Um, for him, it's easy. He's just getting ready to get married. They're gonna have to start a family at some point. But where it's just him and his future wife, there really is not a lot of expense with food or whatever. They have a little extra play money, even though it doesn't seem like it when you're in that point. But I haven't really bought. And if you remember shows in the bygone era, a couple years ago, I was buying one gun, two guns a month, maybe horse trading, getting here and there, getting ammo, whatever. But I've noticed I've had to really cut that down, other than wasting 3 grand on pallets full of junk for one part for sure. And that's what I'm getting at. We need to be frugal, right? We need to be good responsible citizens because obviously those people that have been elected to represent us have not been frugal and easy on the spending. So anyway, I just want you to think about that. Maybe it's time for you to plant a garden. Maybe it's time to learn some new skills. I kind of uh I think about maybe more of a dystopian society. Skills are going to be more valuable um, than what we may be giving them credit for. Now, when I say skills, I mean maybe knowing how to read a tape measure, how to build something for trade, maybe some mechanic work or whatever. Those skills, for a long time, us in that know a trade, maybe we feel like we've been slighted for a few years. Well, we might be really grateful that we know how to do something. Um, so, what skills uh, are you planning to develop? Like I say, whether it's planting a garden, maybe learning how to use your hands and build a home or be a mechanic or whatever. Also, outside of that, are you learning other necessary skills? Are you learning your first aid? Are you learning, communication skills are very important. Maybe we need to learn how to barter, how to learn how to. Well, that sounds terrible, but how to use coercion in our favor. I was listening to a podcast. I want to say it was the Jordan Harbinger show. I don't know if you guys know that, but he talked to an FBI guy, a CIA guy about coercion, and it was very, very interesting about learning the things to say in the right order, in the right context, to basically not necessarily get what you want, but to have a more positive outcome on your end. I guess that's the best way to put it. Um, I noticed, I don't know, they have these in your community, but that we have something called CERT. Now I can't remember what the acronym is. Community Emergency Response Team. That's what it is. So that you learn some great skills there. Something to do in a disaster, emergency response, and all these things are hopefully not going to be needed. But right, it's just like why we carry a gun or why we have a fire extinguisher in the kitchen. We have them and hope that we never have to use them. But it's important to develop those skills. When was the last time you took a basic handgun class? And I know some of you guys might think, well, and that was so 5 years ago. I don't need to go back and take a basic class. I would suggest that you do, and and kind of revisit those basic skills to make sure that you can keep your proficiency levels up. It's well and dandy to take more advanced classes. I met with a good friend of mine who's he used to teach post at the police academy here in Idaho. I think he still does. But he has an academy here in Eastern Idaho that that he does with his dad and his brother. And we were talking about more advanced skills as so far as like shotgun and rifle, that kind of stuff. It's important. I actually suggested to them that I want to take some shotgun stuff from them, and he was complaining because he doesn't like dealing with a sore shoulder. But I think it's important that we think about broadening our skills, being more valuable to society, and getting to know our neighbors and understanding their skills and what value they bring into the table. And I'll stop there with as far as that's concerned. Okay, something else that I thought was kind of interesting, and we only have a few minutes. Like I said, I want to keep this around 30 minutes. Um, Maybe you guys have noticed or heard about the recent budget that President Biden proposed. And it is a ridiculous amount of money. It was $5 trillion or something. It was a ridiculous amount of money that's putting our children in bondage. I really do believe that they're going to be responsible for help paying this debt off with taxes, and it's obscene. Anyway, within this package uh, was some money to the ATF, and I want to say it was like $5 billion or some ridiculous amount um, for hiring new officers, um, training, whatever. And obviously, there's going to be some, most likely, some ridiculous legislation coming down. Now, I understand that the ATF does not make law, but under the direction of the oh man, I just lost. um, you know what I'm trying to say. They have the authority to just come up with arbitrary rules and then say you have to obey these rules or you're going to get in trouble. And here's one of them that came up. This is kind of an old story, but it's happened since our last show. It's March 24th. This is on the let's see, where did I get this story off the firearms blog? Um, and you've probably heard by now, or maybe you haven't. I don't know. Rare breed triggers. It's I guess it's a binary. What do they call it? No, a forced reset trigger, not a binary trigger. So they're saying that these particular forced reset triggers are now classified as machine guns under the Gun Control Act and under the NFA. And if you have them, you have to turn them in. They sent a letter out to dealers saying if you've sold these, we need to know where they went, and if you still have them, you need to give them to us. So and I know we've seen this before, and maybe some of you are like, "Hey, they're stupid. Binary triggers and force reset triggers, they're stupid. I don't care. Whatever. I just want my revolver." I understand that mentality, but it's wrong. And here's why I feel that it's wrong is because every time we let a bureaucracy nibble away at our rights, I feel unconstitutionally, it's just going to keep going on and going on and going on. We saw that with bump stocks. I think bump stocks are absolutely stupid, but I don't think the ATF needs to control them. If somebody wants to buy them, that's fine. Let them buy them. Binary triggers, force reset triggers, they do not meet the definition of a machine gun according to previous ATF definitions, but now apparently they feel that they do. Um, and now with this increased budget, the funding for the ATF, they're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Um, there was maybe you saw the letter that came from the ATF suggesting or hinting at future restrictions coming down the pike. And this is what I feel my gut says this is what's going to happen is arm braces, they'll be considered an NFA item because they can be put to your shoulder and it'll be considered an SBR. So now with an SBR, we have to register it with the ATF through the NFA, pay our tax, for the privilege and the blessing of the federal government. What we need to remember is the Bill of Rights is not a gift to us of what we can do. It is a restriction to the federal government for what they cannot do. And we get bombarded all the time on how uh, the government grants us these rights. The government does not grant rights, they are God given rights. And we are continuously letting the government convince us that we want the privilege of doing stuff. It is not up to the federal government. There are rights. They've been given to us, and the government is restricted. Anyway, what we need to do now, what's the call to action? Well, you need to contact your state representatives. You need to get as much pressure on the ATF as possible because this is unacceptable. Again, you might think, well, they're stupid. Nobody needs to worry about force reset triggers, whatever. It's not up to us. Well, okay, it is up to us. That's not the point, I should say. The point is they're going to keep nibbling away bit by bit. And pretty soon, um, we're going to wonder what happened. Well, it's because we sat on our laurels and didn't do anything. There's going to be a magazine ban coming down the pike too. You're going to see it. Um, there's some stuff coming down the line, and we need to stand up and say enough is enough. I understand that some restrictions people feel that they need to happen. I understand that. I get it, but I don't agree with it. We're grown-ups. We're adults. There are over 20,000 laws regarding firearms on the books nationally and on the state level and the national level that can be enforced. We don't need any more. We need the government to let the local agencies do their jobs. Is that enough ranting for now? I guess it probably is. All right. So let's talk about real quick. One last thing. I only got a few minutes left. What's going on in September in north of Denver? So uh, remember Adam Boyce, right? Spartan Mode. He's an instructor for Marshall Blade Concepts, which was started by Michael Janich. If you don't know who Michael Janich is, jump on YouTube, jump online, give the dude a Google. He's a pretty cool guy. He started um, I guess it's not really theory, but he started the platform for Marshall Blade Concepts. Experienced martial artist. Anyway, uh, I'm hopefully I need to get registered or it won't happen. I'm going to be going to they call it Blade Camp in Colorado, and I'm excited to take you along for the journey. Again, this is still months and months away, but I plan to maybe have a few short podcasts. If I can get them on the show, that'd be fantastic. I'm super excited about it. I also acquired a awesome defense knife, um, the Yojimbo by Spyderco. Check it out. Uh, Highly recommend it. It's pretty damn cool. Anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out again. I know this is a kind of a shorter show. It's probably really boring. Maybe you hate listening to my sultry voice. Maybe you notice it sounds a little different. Not only did I fix the mic issue that I had last time, I figured out what I did, and I'm an idiot. But I moved. I guess you could call it a studio. I moved my podcasting equipment upstairs. Well, now that my son's gone, I got to use the room for something, right? So I got a little studio. It's kind of nice. It's kind of cozy. Um, so hopefully it sounds a little better. Appreciate you guys for listening. You can find us on Instagram and on Facebook at Range Minded Podcast. Again, if you're looking for a holster or just want to talk to a really good dude, look up Nick at Hoftak Industries. The absolute best holster I've ever owned. And it is the official holster of the Range Minded podcast. It's late. I'm slurring my words, and I'm not even drinking. Anyways, we appreciate you guys. Be safe. Get some training. Really think about how you're going to be spending your money the next little while to get the most out of it. Uh, and keep your eyes on us or head on a swivel. Take somebody shooting. Be safe. I already said all that stuff. But see you later. Thanks, guys.
Hey gang, we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. If you liked this episode, make sure you let us know and everyone know by giving us a 5-star rating and maybe sharing us with your friends. If you have an idea for an episode or a guest that you think would be cool to have on the show, or you just want to get in touch with us, you can email us at podcast@iishooting.com or hit us up on Facebook or Instagram at Range Minded Podcast. Thanks again, and take somebody shooting.